Hi guys, this video is part of my CS2 guidebook. Today we're gonna look at how to play A side as a CT on Dust2. The Google Docs Central Hub is linked in the description down below. You can find links to other videos and an overview to everything there. This video is a fundamentals video. It's helpful for every player, no matter your level. And the focus here is A side basics, position and roles, the default flow of the round, retakes, and how to react when B is getting hit. There is gonna be a separate video for AWPing, how to play B and mid as a CT, how to play T side, how to play pistols, what utility to throw, and a couple more. Let's talk about Dust2 fundamentals. So Dust2 is a spawn-driven map. Usually those three spawns would go towards A, those two go towards B. That means the role that you got during the round changes based on the spawn that you get. The top long spawn is the most valuable spawn. When you have the spawn, you can molly long door before T's can peek you. You can also peek short before T's can peek you. If you play solo queue and your teammates are not listening, right, or they're not aware of this concept, then you should probably just fill the missing slot. Except if you have this spawn, because here you can make plays. Every other spawn, in theory, can be changed. One important note here, in this video I'll only show the essential utility that you need for the default setup. For lineups and detailed nades will be covered in a separate utility video. Now let's talk about the key idea of A side. So A side is very tiny and you cannot hold short and long at the same time. Just to show that, right, when I'm peeking long like that, I'm exposed to short, and when I'm peeking short like that, I'm exposed to long, right? And if I play a position like that, I can get traded. If I play like a position like that, I can also get traded, right? So it's hard for me to get a kill and then fall back into cover without being exposed to another angle. Now let's talk about A side macro. I just told you why playing onside is not a good idea. That means we have to contest long or short. Most of the time you want to contest long. If you don't have long control or you already got long control, you can try to fight for short. It's also important to get information from a player who's playing somewhere in the middle, because you don't want to get surprised on rotations. Meaning, when you took long, for example, in the early round, and you rotate towards short, you want to know if somebody can be close already, right? So that would mean that you have to play a bit more passive, and if nobody's short, you can come up here and play an aggressive position. Now, let's talk about the long default, right? I'm going to show you the first, second, and third spawn. Starting with the first, right? If you have the spawn, the top long spawn, what you want to do, run long, pull out your Molotov, molly and door, play anti-flash, you wait for the flash here and then you swing, okay? It is nice to turn like that because then you can see the other mate throwing the flash, right? And you don't have to guess on like which sound cue you have to peek, because T's most of the time they also will flash, right? And with this, you can actually see him throwing the flash and you just swing and fight. When you got long control, what you want to do is you want to most of them cross towards pit and play a position like this. You could also play a position here, right? Take a burst, fall down. You can also play an off angle here. A nice position as well would be here. You can also play here, right? Be aware of a smoke or people spamming or nading. And then another nice position some of the time is this one. In the late round, you have two options. You could first push long or second help side. I'm gonna cover this first. We're gonna talk about this later, but I want to say this now as well. Long control is very important, and also when retaking, you want to keep long, right, as long as you can. When the T's are coming short, you can obviously go here and support your teammate, right? Be aware though, you want to stay alive, so you can maybe burst a couple of times and then you can fall back towards long. What you could also do is just push long, right? Silently, search for somebody who's lurking, right? Clear all the angles, and then you can flank top mid and shoot people in the back and get some free kills. One more note here. When you're the long player and you see your side player having contact, you can come here and fight, but the moment he dies, your first instinct should be to fall back and play a position like that. Again, when we talk about retakes, you'll understand why, right? Right now, important, long control is absolutely OP and you get free kills here, especially when people from your team are rotating through short. Now let's talk about the second long spawn. Here, you're gonna go towards long, take out your Molotov and molly blue. like that. Very important. You need to hit the Molotov somewhere on the left here. If it hits too much on the right, the Molotov will pop there and there is a gap here. So again, like that, right? Because then it's deep enough to cover everything here. After throwing the Molotov, what you're gonna do, you're gonna wait for the flash, play anti-flash, then swing and fight. After taking long control, what you should do as a second spawn, immediately smoke the door. The first spawn should keep the smoke so that he can lock down long for the whole round. Then you immediately go towards A side, right? And then you can decide here, do you want to play for short, right? If you have another teammate, play for short. You can also go towards mid, or you could also play somewhere on side, right? You're kind of the rotation player most of the time. Very important here, you don't want to rotate too early and you don't want to make sound in CT spawn, right? The T's, they're gonna sit somewhere here and listen for sound cues. If they hear like just a step like this, right? Just some short steps. They know you're towards CT, right? And helping your A side player from here is almost not possible. So never make sound cues, right? And don't rotate too early, right? You really need to know what the T's are gonna do, make like a decision here. When you have the third spawn, or it could also be a spawn like this, right? Or sometimes this spawn, you want to support long. That means you have two flashes. The first flash here and the second flash here. Okay, when doing that fast, it looks something like that. And then you would move towards long and try to support them. If there's nobody coming out long, you immediately go back to short. If you know nobody's up short, you can jump up. If people could be up short because there's a mid smoke or something, just molly like that. And then clear this, right? And then you've got short control. As a note here, it is very important after you flash to move towards long because you want to help them, right? In case people push out long. Nobody's there. You should immediately jump up short like this, right? Or molly first if people could be close already, right? What this enables the other person to do is, right, the second spawn, he smokes door, he runs back, and then when you're already up there, he can also jump up there and you can play together, right? If you sit down here and you wait for the other guy to come, you give the T's like time to take short, right? And then you're not able to jump up safely here, right? Then also the steep Molotov won't really work because people are already close here, right? And then you're just dead when they peek you. Two more things for the support player. When you throw the flashes and your long players are already dead, then don't go long and fight and just go into the 1 versus 3 and expect to win this, right? Just go back, go towards short, try to find like a duel here, and then you can play for retake. And the second thing, you can go like in the beginning of the round, go into this corner, find this cable, and then you can insta smoke door like that. This is especially strong when your teammates are trying to peek short and you don't have somebody going long, right? Because this gives you somewhat of a fake long control, right? Because the T's don't know if you're actually out here fighting or if this is just like a smoke and nobody's actually long, right? So this is strong. This also sometimes enables like a player that is not going short to take long solo because there's already a smoke down in door. Now let's talk about what you can do when you want to take short control. I would recommend having one of those two spawns when you want to do this because you want to go for an early kill. So what you're gonna do is you come up here, you jump up, then you're gonna throw molly here, right? Because you want to have a timing window where you can peek mid and nobody can come lower, right? And then what you want to do is you want to peek here like this. Important. You want to align yourself with this pillar because the T's, right, they're gonna walk out mid, they clear short, and if there's a smoke, right, they think, oh, it's clear, so I can walk up, and then you can catch them when pressing W. Why? If they clear like that, they can't see you because you're sitting there, right? And from this angle, you're not visible. They actually need to swing like this to see you. It would be even better if you have a like another teammate pushing to lower, because then you can stay longer here, right? And you don't have to worry about this. This is also very strong in Deagle rounds, because you can play like a position like this where you peek into them, right? And you can try to get some kills, because it's like a pretty nice fight for you. I want to add some notes here again. First of all, your team can still fight for long. It is a bit of a gamble, right? Because if you don't have 3 players long and the T's are rushing, then it's like, But if there are like 2 players going short, there could still be one going long, right? He could throw the smoke, or he could just flash himself in, right? That's still possible, right? And in solo queue, sometimes this will just happen and you can't really do a lot about it, right? And I would say most of the time that's okay to do. It is a bit risky though. When you're short, you should coordinate with your teammates, right? If you have somebody pushing lower, that's nice. If you have an AWP mid, that's nice. If you have lower control, it is very strong to keep playing in a position like that, right? If you don't have lower control, it's still okay, because you can peek lower like that. And this is a position that almost nobody expects, right? Because people are always swinging like that, right? But almost nobody is like coming around and checking this spot specifically, right? So crouching here is very strong. You could obviously play a double setup where one of your players is here and the other is here. Or what I also like, one player is just sitting here doing this, and the other player is waiting here. If somebody comes short, he bursts and then he falls off. Lastly here, if you want to jump up short, you should use this box and this box only. So you're gonna come here, jump onto this box, and then jump onto this box, and then you're up. Now let's talk about rotations and how to react to B hits. So we're gonna talk about the rotation player, the A side player, and the long player. If you're the rotation player, I already talked about this a bit. You should really listen to sounds, right? Never make sounds yourself. And you should actually confirm on whether it's gonna be mid, right? Maybe you get info, right, from a player, or there's like a second sound, or both, right? And then you have to decide on whether you're going to rotate towards middle to help or to stay here, right? Once you rotate here, when they come out short, A side is basically gone, except if this play makes a really nice play. You don't have to go through CT spawn when rotating towards B. You can also go short, right? Sometimes you have short control. If you don't have short control, but you see your side player going short, well, just jump up, right? Help him, and then just try to find a lurk mid. If you're playing on site and B is getting hit, what you should be doing is you should push short, search for a lurk. If you have the player here, just tell him, let's go short, clear it. You want to find the lurk, right? If there is a lurk, try to kill him, and then you can go for the retake. If the numbers are actually good, right? If it's like a 3 versus 4, retaking B is not very good, because retaking B is one of the hardest sites in the game to retake, and you're probably better off saving. As the long player, you should probably push long, silently, search for a lurk, right? Don't take too much time. You actually need to like clear everything here, right? And then again here, you want to search for the lurk. Ideally, you have people pushing up short and a guy pushing up long, because then if somebody's still mid, you kill him and then you can retake, right? That's usually how you want to go with the retake on B. I'm not going to talk about retaking B here, right? This is the A side video. There is a separate video for that. Now let's talk about retaking A. There is a basic principle that I would follow. You should avoid retaking A from CT unless you have 3 or more players alive. Every angle, especially in 1 versus 1s or 2 versus 2s from CT, is very hard. Why? Because if you clear like that, right, there's always this angle to the left where somebody could be standing, right? That doesn't really matter where you clear, right? Even if you clear here, he could be standing there, right? If you clear on side, he could be standing here. So it's very hard to isolate fights, and you can never really pre-aim anything because you don't know where he is. It's the same when walking up here, right? Let's say you're walking up like this and you clear here. He could still be crouching there, right? And when you're here, he could be crouching there, right? Or he's just hiding there. You just don't really know where he is and you can't really clear any position. When you want to retake from CT, I would stick to this, right? Aim like that. You want to use this wall as cover from like every position that's basically on this wall. And then, especially when you have like 2 people short, 1 long, right? And you know that there are like 2 T's alive, you can basically catch them off guard by swinging from here. Or, what's also good, you can silently jump up here, right? So jump on this box, then jump on this box, and then you can kind of try to surprise side. When retaking A, again, short is very strong, and the most important position probably is long. If you can somehow get a player into long, then do it. A good setup, when you have like 3 people alive, for example, for the retake, right, would be 2 short, 1 long. When your long player is still alive, right, it's the best scenario that you can get to. If that's not the case, right, then you have to decide on whether you want to like retake long, right, with those fights. It can be nice, right, if you're confident that you're gonna win the fight here, then do it. Because once you cleared this all, right, and you peek like that, the round is basically won. Right, except if there's an orb, right, who's hitting nice shots. But this is just such a strong position to clear side, because people, like all the time, right, they're gonna sit here, they're gonna be rammed, they're gonna try to fight short, right, because this is where your like main force kind of should be coming from to retake. And then when you have the backstep there, it's very, very OP. Probably there is gonna be another video for retaking where I show examples from my games or from like pro demos. So keep an eye out for that, right? Because there could be a bit more insight into retaking. Now let's talk about some common mistakes that you'll see often on Dust2. One of the biggest mistakes would be standing with 2 players on side, right? You should be fighting for short control or long control. Ideally, you want to keep long. If long is already gone, then fight for short. Don't just sit here, right, and wait for the T's to engage from 2 different directions, right? You're gonna lose the round most of the time if you're not hitting like an insane play. Then another mistake would be dry peeking long. If you don't have a support player, you should throw flashes yourself. Just molly, and then you can use a flash, for example, like this, right? Or you could also flash just like left-right click over here, right? Do something to make the fight easier, right? If your opponents are not good, dry peeking sometimes could work. But if your opponents are somewhat decent, it's not a good idea to do. So one of the biggest mistakes that even level 10s do, they retake from CT too much, right? Again, I've tried to show this already. It is not a good position to be in. You have pretty shit fights. You always have to guess, is a T hiding here? Is he maybe hiding here? Could he be hiding long, right? You want to clear at least those positions so that you know he has to be long or CT, right? When you're on side already. It is just not a good position to retake from. Retake from short, retake from long, it is much better. Then another big mistake that even high level players do, they over rotate off sound cue, right? They hear a sound like mid, somebody calls it, and then they absolutely run down here, they make sound. Rotating here without making sound because of one sound cue is not the best idea, right? It depends a bit on the situation, but especially when you make sound yourself, right? It is so easy for the T's to say, let's stop the mid to B and go short, and then you have one guy here who's absolutely fucked, right? You're in this shit position here where you hear steps everywhere and you can't really do anything, right? So it is very important, be patient on the rotate. So that's the CTA side basics for Dust2. Full utility lineups are in a separate video. Check out the docs hub for this. Next up, we're gonna look at AWPing on Dust2, how to play B and mid on CT side. If this video helped, make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you struggle on A side. If you have any questions or any suggestions what I should do, write them in the comments down below. Stay focused, keep training. Bye bye guys.